So gamers, how are we feeling? We got some hype deep talks after the big news. Let me say I'm still buzzing a little bit from all the dope games we got to see. I know you guys are here for Guild Wars stuff, but let me say that I am super excited about both Stellar Blade and Lords of the Fallen 2, which I did playthroughs of Lords of the Fallen back when their 2.0 release dropped. Not my favorite Souls-like game, but interesting world that they built. It's a pretty interesting one, and I'm pretty excited about Lords of the Fallen 2. And I definitely need to finish Stellar Blade before Stellar Blade Blood Rain drops. That game looks really sick. But let me start the Guild Wars part of this video by saying I told you so. Basically, everything I've been saying about this game and franchise since well before I became a partner was right. They split the studio to develop another game. They kept a few people on Guild Wars to craft these mini expansions, which pale in comparison to ArenaNet at 100% power level, and they use the effort to develop Guild Wars 3. And in my reaction to Teapot's Guild Wars 3 coverage, I even got the date right. By the end of 2027, I think we will be able to log in and play, and that is when the beta goes live. But I was wrong about one thing. They did decide to call it Guild Wars 3. Not sure how that is going to age, but at least it's a recognizable name. It was going to get called that regardless. I think that the community has called it Guild Wars 3 enough that regardless of what they decided to call it, it was going to be called Guild Wars 3. But I'm going to talk about what I think the game will be like, because the studio update, they said that it was going to be a uniquely different game, and those breadcrumbs mixed with what the update of them talking about Guild Wars 2 gave me enough kind of hints to fire up the old imagination machine to think about what Guild Wars 3 might actually look like from a build craft and gameplay perspective when comparing it to other games that are kind of modern MMOs. So first off, if you're new here, I plan on covering all three Guild Wars games and eventually some other games that I mentioned like Lords of the Fallen, Stellar Blade, etc. However, if you aren't subscribed already, please consider it. I am trying to get to 10K and it's kind of taking forever. So if you could help me with that, that'd be awesome. So the Guild Wars 3 trailer shows off some rendered footage from in-game. Some people online have been clowning on it. I think it looks really good. Some people are complaining about needing a 2060 graphics card to run, which that card is from 2019. So I understand you will actually need something more than like a potato to run the game, which is the first time ArenaNet has ever had this concern, since minimum settings on Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 would both run on like a heavily modified toaster oven if you wanted. So I'm pretty sure you could get Guild Wars to run on like a Raspberry Pi if you tried hard enough. But for this video, I'm going to save all the lore stuff for another video. I want to focus on the gameplay and what the gameplay could actually look like. They said that you will be focusing on movement, primarily freedom of movement and fluidity of gameplay. What that says to me is that it's probably going to be like Warframe, which would set the game apart from its predecessors, but it would also set it apart from the only other reasonable competition, which is Soulframe. Now, Warframe and Soulframe are both really fun games. Warframe is fast-paced, hop in and hop out, like dungeon crawler-esque game where you load into lobbies and do different things. It does have some open world elements, and I think that ArenaNet will be focusing more on the open world than dungeon instance elements. However, the gameplay is key. Warframe has some interesting gameplay options with its different warframes, and I think that the build craft element might follow a similar style, though I highly doubt that we will be seeing the traditional MMO style game where you have a ton of different skills and abilities to use. I think it is going to be limited to a handful of skills total to support being able to play on console. Alternatively, you could have gameplay like BDO. Now, I say this reluctantly. I'm really hoping it is not like BDO. BDO is a beautiful game. The gameplay, if you have never played it, it is similar to fighting games where you have like movement presses built into your skill combos. So think like analog stick, up, down, right, B, left trigger or something. and that triggers a skill. I played it a little bit. It's an interesting concept, but it almost feels like too Street Fighter-esque for me, and I don't think the Guild Wars 2 audience would really like that. I think that something closer to either Soulframe, where you pick a class and you kind of get a skill tree that you build out from there, or even something like Remnant 2, where you have a primary skill or stat line that you can tier up and rank up, and then you have your primary modifiers to your build, which are attached to your weapons and armor. In Remnant 2, this system is very fun to build around. You have a weight mechanic, which is kind of Souls-like thing, but that gives you a distinction between armor weights and how it impacts your movement, primarily your dodge ability in the game. But also your skills and stuff are primarily determined by your items. So each specialization in Remnant 2 isn't really all that flashy. You basically get to pick 2 active skills, and your play is determined by what your primary and secondary gun are and what modifiers are on those guns. Your melee weapon also has similar functionality. Some of them will shoot a ranged projectile, some of them don't, and you could also build around that. Guild Wars 3 is going to have crossplay between PC and console, and it has a solo-friendly gameplay loop based on some of the descriptions from the teaser videos or Steam. So I think it's going to be similar to Remnant or Warframe, where your lobbies are going to be limited to like 3 to 5 people. I'm not sure what the party limitations are going to be in Guild Wars 3, but I'm assuming it's going to be like a max of 5 in most combat situation. Getting back a little bit to the build craft, I think that eyeing your skills or your gameplay to your weapons and armor selection would kind of follow Guild Wars 2's kind of design philosophy, where your weapons determine your skills. So I could see this being one element of the build craft in Guild Wars 3. While another element may be determined by the class that you choose. And until we get more information, there's a lot of really fun and exciting possibilities that you could kind of steal from other games or hodgepodge them together. For the most part, while Guild Wars 3 and Soulframe are very fantasy heavy, I believe Guild Wars 3 will have more of a feel to Warframe with their movement focus. Soulframe separated itself from Warframe by being slower, more intentional, fantasy rich, but I digress. Let's get back to Guild Wars. So Guild Wars 2 is getting Hall of Monuments, and they hinted towards a Seasons of the Dragon style release, which is another thing that I was totally right about, totally called. And I will say that after VOE, we will have quite a bit of a drought in terms of new content. So if you are one of those players who is going to hold on to Guild Wars 2, which I completely respect, it is going to be a cool minute from September 2026 to probably sometime in 2028 before we start seeing what a post Guild Wars 3 Guild Wars 2 update would look like. And that's all right, because from what I've seen and what I can infer from the console PC release of Guild Wars 3, it is going to be so different from Guild Wars 2. So if you are a gamer who likes to play with others, likes to be a part of a community, or do large-scale 50-man content like World vs. World and Convergences and stuff, you will be eating good, because I foresee that the future of Guild Wars 2 will be focused around those gameplay elements, since it is likely going to be a hardware limitation of Guild Wars 3, but it is also going to be the primary appeal of Guild Wars 2, is that traditional large-scale MMO. Now for me, I pug everything. I don't really partake in World vs. World and do that stuff unless I have to, so moving in that direction would definitely push me further away from Guild Wars 2. However, I can see the design intention. I believe that it is also indicated through their intention of upgrading Guild Wars 2's backend. Modernizing Guild Wars 2's system optimization was literally the first thing I said in my new player guide, is that Guild Wars 2 uses your modern computer hardware like dog shit. So in short terms, I was right again, where Guild Wars 3 taking the short-term financial burden off of Guild Wars 2 is freeing up the devs to do some housekeeping and system modernization. So here in Guild Wars 2, with Guild Wars 3 coming out through this year-long drought period until sometime in 2028 or beyond, we're going to be seeing Guild Wars 2 getting a lot of system updates and optimization that it needed for so long. And we're going to be able to play the game better than ever before. So I think in a few years, looking back on this period, it is going to make Guild Wars 2 far more sustainable and approachable in the future. I'm excited to see what Hall of Monuments look like, but I think that the intention is to make Hall of Monuments a big appeal for new and returning players to come try out Guild Wars 2 before Guild Wars 3 comes out, or even go back to Guild Wars 2 once Guild Wars 3 is already released to get some of those exclusive prestige items. It isn't only a busy work update to keep current players engaged. It is going to be something solid for the long-term benefit of the game. That is what the Hall of Monuments in Guild Wars 1 ended up being. So I think that they see that, and I think that they're going to be trying to make it even better, right? I would really hope that it's not just a Seasons of the Dragons thing rebranded. Once we start getting those updates after Visions of Eternity, that's when we'll figure out where we're actually at with the whole Hall of Monuments thing. But yeah, I'll be covering Guild Wars 2 news, Guild Wars 3 news, and I still have quite a few new player guides to pump out. So I hope you guys stop by those videos when you see them pop up. I know most of you are crusty old veterans of this franchise. Let me know what your thoughts are on Guild Wars 3, what you think about the trailer. Are you guys hype? Are you dooming? Are you uninstalling Guild Wars 2 right now? Let me know what you're feeling. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all of my subscribers and a special thanks to all my members who support the channel. I am an ArenaNet partner as well, so if you want to support my channel, my referral link will work for Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars Reforged and eventually Guild Wars 3. For those of you who don't want to support me directly and would just rather support me through buying the game, I got a question for you guys. Would you like to see videos on some other games, or are you just here for Guild Wars 2? Let me know. I actually play a lot of games, and I realized that when I was making this video, I just never make videos on those other games. So anyway, if you watched, thanks for watching. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.